Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And you know what? Sometimes you just want to play a good cooperative game. I mean, there's a lot of great single-player games out there, especially on PlayStation. That's what they're most well-known for after all, but they do have some great cooperative games as well, including a few really good console exclusives on top of that. Ultimately, this is a great platform to sit down and to play with friends or family. So if you're looking for a game to play together, well, you're in the right place because we're going to take a look at 20 different cooperative games that you can play on your PlayStation 5. This list offers a good variety of games, so hopefully you'll find something worth your time. But with that said, let's not waste any more time and let's just go ahead and jump right into the list. Number 20, Unraveled 2. Now, you always hear about how two minds are better than one, and Unraveled 2 puts that logic to the test. This is an adorable 2D puzzle platformer where you play as these little yarn-like characters. You can unravel yourself, hence the name of the game, and you use your yarn to solve various physics-based puzzles. By working together, you'll unravel its mysterious world, and it's just a good, cozy game to sit back and enjoy with a friend. I also have to say, for a 2D platformer, I really like its more realistic art style. It's quite striking in motion. Number 19, Dead Island 2. It's almost kind of hard to believe that this game is finally a real thing after it was in development for 9 long years. Now, was the wait actually worth it though? That's kind of the question here. And I'd say if anything, if you just want to slay zombies with some friends, then you can play through its entire campaign with up to 3 players. Its gameplay has an old school arcade vibe to it. Kind of reminds me of the PS3 days just a bit, which, I mean, I guess it does make sense considering how long this game's been in development. But I think because of Dead Island's comedic tone, and because it doesn't take itself overly serious, it's just an easy game to goof off in. There's always a ton of zombies as well, so it's nice to have somebody who can watch your back and revive you once you're down. Number 18, Grounded. Okay, so this is actually a little bit of a surprising choice just because this is actually an Xbox-developed game on the PlayStation 5. As a part of their more multi-platform approach, they brought over Grounded, and let me tell you, do not skip out on this if you like survival games or if you like RPGs. This does come from the highly renowned RPG studio known for games like Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian Entertainment, and it really shows. They blended RPG mechanics perfectly into its survival gameplay, and I think that really sets it apart from other crafting games like it. I also really enjoy its bigger-than-life environment. This type of setting just kind of opens up your imagination, and in Grounded, you basically play as kids who are shrunken down and are now fending for their lives in a backyard environment. It's a pretty cool setting, and even better is that you can build, craft, and survive together. Number 17, Returnal. Despite launching as a single-player focused game, Housemarque pushed out a surprisingly good cooperative mode post-release. Now, Returnal is most known for its difficult, roguelike experience and a fascinating, albeit strange, alien world. But why not take that experience and give yourself a partner? In theory, it makes sense. You can now have each other's backs because, well, you're probably going to need it. It is still very challenging. And if anything, Returnal's fast-paced, arcade-like gunplay is just a blast, and every time you die, you always tell yourself, one more time. Number 16, Final Fantasy XIV. MMOs are always best when you're able to play with a tight group that likes to play together, and one of the best MMOs out there is Final Fantasy XIV. Now, PlayStation fans knows this franchise very well, and as you might expect, it puts a great emphasis on its story. Debatably, you can even say that it's the best the genre has to offer. If anything else, if you and your friends are looking for a long-term commitment, well, Final Fantasy XIV can keep you and your group busy for hundreds of hours with more than a decade's worth of content and stories to catch up on. And the thing is that more is still to come. Number 15, Cuphead. This game really became an instant classic back in 2017 with its old school Mickey Mouse art style and surprisingly brutal run-and-gun gameplay. You might not expect it when you first see Cuphead, but it offers a real legitimate challenge. This is not for the faint of heart, but it is very well worth it. Its arcade-like gameplay really lends itself to its cooperative nature. Now, Cuphead is only local co-op, but one player can assume Cuphead while the other plays as Mugman. I'd say this is really the perfect arcade-like experience to pick up up and play with a friend to see just how far you can get in a day's time. It offers plenty of variety, whether that be platforming, shoot 'em up sections, or just some of the best designed boss encounters that you'll see in any game, period. Most importantly, though, is that it's quite simply fun. Number 14, Quarry. Now, here's probably one of the most unique entries on this list because you don't typically think about horror games or choose-your-own-adventure type of games as cooperative. But Quarry is actually a brilliant take on the genre. It's designed more like a horror movie, but you're basically the director yourself instead of yelling at the screen because characters do stupid things in horror movies. We all know this. But instead, you now get to make those stupid decisions for them. Even better is that you can play and make decisions for one character while somebody else plays as a completely different character and makes decisions for them. After all, this is one of the best things about horror movies, experiencing it with somebody else, and Quarry brings that experience to video games. Number 13, Shredder's Revenge. The classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat-em-up games have always been among the best cooperative experiences of all time, and the latest throwback, Shredder's Revenge, brings that experience to modern-day times. In their latest adventure, you can choose between 7 playable characters, all of which have their own unique combat style, though you can also do a variety of team attacks on top of that. This game also supports up to 6 players at once, both online and locally. You can't really say that about many games, but as you'd imagine, things can get quite chaotic on screen. But it's an absolute blast to play through, and I'd really say this is just one of the easiest pick up and play games, whether that be at home or online. Number 12, Destiny 2. There's no way I could do a list like this and not mention Destiny 2. Destiny is probably one of the most influential games over the last decade, and that's for a good reason. Bungie once again created a well-realized sci-fi world, and they meshed it into one of the most fun and addictive gameplay loops that you can have in gaming. You can kind of say the rise of looter shooters started here. With its ever-evolving story and its consistent new stream of content, there's always a reason to jump back in and play. If you do have a group of friends that enjoys fun gunplay and collecting loot, then Destiny 2 is still a great pickup all of these years later. Number 11, Ghost of Tsushima Legends. While Ghost of Tsushima is more known for its single-player campaign, Sucker Punch actually added a multiplayer mode post-release, and it's surprisingly very good. Legends really expands on that samurai experience that fans love so much in its story. There's new enemies to fight in Legends, there's rewards to unlock, and it also offers class-based characters. This is really perfect for that cooperative gameplay experience because you and your partners can all choose completely different characters with their own unique playstyles. So you'll really have to use those unique abilities to work together and to fight off waves of formidable foes. So while yes, Legends was an unexpected addition to Ghost of Tsushima, it does give you plenty of reason to jump back into its world for its multiplayer as well. Number 10, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Now, if you're looking for more of a family-friendly experience, then Sackboy: A Big Adventure is the perfect game for you to play. This is one that I'd really recommend for parents to play with their kids, but truth be told, I really think Sackboy is good enough and fun enough to fit with all age groups. Little Big Planet has always been one of the most charming games after all, and even though A Big Adventure is a different take for this series, it translates brilliantly into a 3D platformer. I love the music in this game, it's creative as you would expect from the series, and they keep it fresh by introducing new ideas throughout its campaign. It also supports up to 4 players both online and locally, making it a great experience in either situation. Number 9, Baldur's Gate 3. Now, it's no secret that Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the best RPGs ever made, but little do some know, it's also one of the better cooperative games as well. Sometimes turn-based RPGs can be a little overlooked in this category, but Baldur's Gate 3, it's a special game, and you can take that experience and play it in its entirety with up to 4 players together. Now, if you want, each one of you can create your own character from scratch and experience Baldur's Gate 3 like a typical D&D campaign. You don't necessarily have to stick together per se, but each player can impact the campaign with the individual decisions that they make. It's a completely different way to experience Baldur's Gate 3, and in some ways, it adds a little extra richness to its world building because it's not just you making the decisions anymore. Number 8, Diablo 4. In some ways, Diablo 4 has had a rocky launch with some up and down updates that not all fans necessarily love. Even still though, the core Diablo experience offers a ton of RPG mechanics that fans will really enjoy. And if you like that type of game, then it will keep you and your friends busy for days, weeks, or even months at a time. There's plenty of classes to choose from, and you can really fine-tune them the way that you want as you progress throughout its campaign. Your character can be completely different to your partner because you have all the mechanics to make that happen in something like Diablo. It also has a strong 25+ hour story to enjoy, and a lot of in-game content on top of that. And to think, even with this amount of content, Blizzard still has several expansions planned, so Diablo 4 will likely be relevant with new content for years to come. Number 7, Monster Hunter. Now, there's 2 different Monster Hunter games that you can play on the PlayStation 5, both of which I would highly recommend. First, you have Monster Hunter World, which released back in 2018. It's got more of a realistic art style compared to Monster Hunter Rise, which is more stylized as it was originally created with the Nintendo Switch in mind. But even still, I really like the way it looks. It is stunning on the PlayStation 5 thanks to its 4K resolution, and it can even run up to 120 frames per second. Capcom really outdid themselves with Rise, and I actually do prefer its gameplay over World as well. Now, I know that will differ person to person, but I do like some of the quality of life improvements they added, including its new wirebug mechanic and its dog companion that really speeds the hunt along. So combine that with its addictive progression system that Monster Hunter is so well known for, and it just makes for a fantastic game all around. Even better is that it does support up to 4-player co-op, that way you can strategically hunt down and trap these massive monsters together. Number 6, A Way Out. Now, so far we've talked about a lot of games that has cooperative gameplay included, but what about a game that was designed from the ground up with the focus to be played together? And that's exactly what A Way Out is. Unlike a lot of other games in this list, this is actually a mandatory cooperative game. They actually handled this aspect in a very consumer-friendly way. They give you a free friend pass, that way you can invite anybody to play along with you, regardless of whether or not they own a copy. Its online play is actually almost treated similar to what you see in local co-op games, and that even goes for its split screen. In A Way Out, you do play as 2 completely different characters during a prison break, but you can always see what your partner is doing at any given time thanks to it always being done in split screen. I think that this is actually a brilliant move, and it adds to its overall co-op nature. It's also important because it has a good story as well, and it's just filled with a ton of mini games that either has you work with your partner or even to compete with them at times. This is a brilliant cooperative game, and I don't say that lightly. Number 5, Remnant 2. I think from time to time, we've all heard a game get described as the Souls-like of insert this genre here, and, well, Remnant 2 is kind of that game for third-person shooters. It blends that Souls-like experience into an RPG third-person shooter, and it does it with perfect execution. It's got an in-depth class-based system, it's got strong gunplay, and great boss battles as you would expect for the genre. It also has a ton of replayability because it does use procedurally generated levels, and while I'm not always a fan of that, it seems to work very well in Remnant 2. Even better is that you can play it with a friend and you can lean on each other's unique skills to best any battle that comes your way. Frankly, it really is one of the best Souls-likes out there, and also just one of the most unique as well. Now, I will say, though, I do understand that some people are intimidated by this genre just because of how challenging they often are, but in Remnant 2, you can customize its difficulty, so do keep that in mind. Number 4, Sea of Thieves. Now, okay, I'm technically cheating a little bit on this one because Sea of Thieves isn't officially available yet as of the making of this video, but I've already played Sea of Thieves on other platforms, and I can reassure you that this game is very special. It's a pirate adventure where you hunt down treasure, loot other ships, fight off monsters, and even fish, because, you know, why not? We always have to have fishing. But there's just a ton of stuff to do in Sea of Thieves, and truly, there's just no other game out there that plays like it. It is the best of its kind. It's the best pirate game ever made, in my opinion. And even though you can technically play it by yourself, Sea of Thieves is best experienced with a crew. Now, depending on the size of your crew, you can choose from 3 different size ships, all of which will require a different amount of teamwork. If you want a galleon, a 4-player ship, you'll need to work well as a team. You're faster, but you're also a bigger target for incoming pirates that might want your treasure. Whereas your 2-man ship is smaller, but not quite as equipped to battle bigger and more prepared crews. What I've always loved about Sea of Thieves, though, is really just how you create your own story with your friends. And because it offers such a great world and fun gameplay, there's a lot of opportunity for special moments that you'll remember for years to come. Number 3, Overcooked 2. Now, here's a fan favorite in my household. My family absolutely loves Overcooked, and that's because it's just pure chaos in the most fun way possible. In a lot of ways, it actually kind of reminds me of how Nintendo develops their games. It's easy to pick up and play for anybody, regardless of whether or not they're longtime gamers. And the level designs are just chaotically amazing. The kitchens that you work in are just so over-the-top creative. In Overcooked, though, you basically run your own restaurant, and you're tasked to prepare and deliver meals to your customers. And while, okay, that sounds simple on the surface, I get it, but it requires a lot of teamwork, especially if you attempt to get perfect ratings. I can't even describe how fun this game is at times, but what I can say, though, is that if you can work well together, you're going to have a blast playing through Overcooked 2. Number 2, Helldivers 2. Now, Sony's been searching for their hit live service game for years, and well, they now have it with Helldivers 2. This game really just kind of surprised a lot of people when it first released, including PlayStation themselves. They were not prepared for the amount of success this game has had, but you know what? There's a good reason for its success. Its moment-to-moment action is insanely fun. They'll just drop you on a planet, and sometimes, you're going to be greeted right away with an onslaught of enemies. And, that's the thing about this game. In order to survive and to complete the various goals that you're given, you'll have to communicate and work well together as a team. But unlike other games similar to it, there is more of an emphasis on teamwork with each individual thing that you do. A lot of the goals that you need to complete will require multiple people. Hypothetically, let's kind of say that you need to set coordinates as one such example. Well, one person will control a computer to set those coordinates, while the other will call them out. And this is all happening whilst a ton of enemies are relentlessly attacking you. Even the spawn system revolves around teamwork. So it just feels excellent, and the entire game is coded with that amount of teamwork. Then on top of that, its gunplay is just as well thought out. This is a fantastic cooperative shooter and really among the best that's ever been made. And at the number 1 spot, I have It Takes Two. Now, this game comes from the same studio that created A Way Out, Hazelight. We just talked about that game earlier, and you can tell because a lot of the same things apply to this game. It Takes Two is yet another mandatory cooperative game with a free friend pass included. That way you can play with any online friend who might not own a copy themselves. What I'll say, though, is that It Takes Two absolutely blew my mind. This is by far one of the most creative games that I've ever played, and every single level introduces you to something completely new. On the surface, it's a 3D platformer, but it's so much more than that. In one level, you might have to run away from an army of squirrels, and then in another, you might be in more of a shoot-'em-up section. It just constantly changes the way you play and the way you think, but with one center focus. It Takes Two. Both you and your partner will have to work together to solve its various gameplay ideas. To put it short, though, It Takes Two, quite frankly, is a masterpiece, and in my opinion, it's the best cooperative game that you can play right now, hands down. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this list, but hopefully you found something that caught your eye. If I didn't mention one of your favorites, though, definitely let me hear about those in the comments below. I want to hear about your favorite cooperative games as well, but until next time, subscribe for more content just like this, and peace out.